Hey, what's up, dudes? What's up, y'all? HW here. Would you look at this? Would you look at this little thing? I mean, oh my gosh. We got a little mini guitar. Look my size of my cup of coffee for comparison there. Also size of me for comparison. This thing is mini, and look at these little pickups. Not the point of today's video, but very cool guitar, 18.5-inch scale length, so it is like a mini guitar. Whereas sometimes you see those Squire little ones that are really for like learning for kids or for small people, just small human beings. Those are 22.5-inch, so they're only a little bit shorter. They're only about 3 inches shorter than a regular Fender. This is about 7 inches shorter than a regular Fender. So we're not quite in the octave range, but I really bought it because I wanted to be an octave guitar. And so I can't get it up to full octave with these strings. I'm going to experiment with some sevens, some 8s or some 7s. These are 9s, and I was able to get it up to C. So this is a C. Great. It's super inspiring to play a little instrument like this and not have to learn a new tuning and everything. Super fun. You get that tonality. But that's not the point of today's video. Today's video, you saw the title, and you're probably going, HW, I don't like that. I'm furiously already typing in all the exceptions. You're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong, you're wrong. And everybody who types those exceptions, we can see who doesn't watch the video ahead of time. They just go in, see a title, and start typing. And that's a lot of people. But today's video is about amps are for amateurs. The pros have gone digital. And while there are a lot of legacy acts and a lot of exceptions to that rule, and a lot of bands who, you know, amps are part of their image, you'll never see them go digital, or just, you know, they just can play amps because they can. The reality of the situation is this is 2025, not 2005. And in my last couple of videos, I've seen a lot of these statements that people make. They're like, I would play digital if it didn't sound like crap. Or they would say a bunch of stuff like, you know, nobody serious uses digital or something. And to that, I would just say, I mean, again, this is 2025. That is such like archaic thinking. That's just, anyone saying that is not really paying attention to what's going on with live music and stuff. Now, I have a bunch of friends that play around Nashville, and there has been a move, first in the churches, to go silent stage, which is kind of obvious. And then that has shifted into local bars, into songwriting stuff, into showcases for record companies, into all sorts of live stuff. And silent stage, you got to understand why silent stage is an advantage. If you're a sound guy, having control over the mix is actually a huge advantage. Now, of course, there's a really awesome feel when you go to a bar and it just, you know, it just has that vibe, you know, that stale alcohol smell, and the amps are turned super loud and the drums really loud. But you guys, look, I'm 38. I got to be honest with you. I did a ton of that in my 20s and some of my 30s. I had kids, though, in my late 20s, so I wasn't staying out till 2 in the morning anymore going to shows, but I still did go to a good amount of live music. I have seen just as many mixes that have probably been way worse because the amp is throwing a bunch of decibels my way from where I am, or because, you know, the drums are too loud, you know, where I am. I'll tell you, even in I play at a church out here in Nashville, and this church is beautiful. The room is beautiful. It's been built. It's like, it looks like a theater kind of. It's all like built with acoustics in mind. The walls are all soft if you touch them, and the sound system's set up. But even the way the rows are set up, the church wants to add more rows, you know, so they have the most amount of seating. And the first 2 rows are just, the mix sounds terrible. And that's in a room where hundreds of thousands of dollars were probably spent, you know, on the architecture there to build that place and design it for sound, to be like an auditorium kind of place. So I'm really of the opinion now, as I get older and I get a little bit less romantic about like rock and roll needs to be loud. You know, it's like, that's, I see that's true. And that's why I think we're always going to see amps around. But, you know, famously, like, and by the way, I really kind of saw the comment that named this video in a creator's comments. His name's Bad Brad. Check out Bad Brad if you haven't checked out Bad Brad. And I've been watching a lot of his stuff lately. I really dig Bad Brad stuff. He's got a ton of great stories from a long career, and he's just moved from Nashville to Florida, and he's still down there doing stuff in Florida. But he went Sunset Strip, Nashville, now Florida. I mean, he has so many great stories and such a killer perspective. I love Bad Brad's YouTube channel right now. I've been binge watching that for sure. Check him out. But man, one of the interesting sort of trends that I'm seeing with my friends in this town here is I got a buddy, his name's Matt Revere. He plays for Carrie Underwood. And that's a gig that when he got that gig, they were already on Fractal, and so he has used Fractal. Now, Matt and I think we both really love the Kemper, and we've sort of bonded over the Kemper, and we're just friends, maybe a little weightlifting. I go to his house sometimes. Anyway, he's one of these guys who I really is at the forefront of my mind when I think the best players I know with the best gigs are usually not that focused on gear. When I go to his house, all his gear is like stuff that Sir has given him, including some like little amps, but they're still too loud for the house. So the guy's using a Kemper, And when he goes on the road, they have all the axe stuff all set up, and he can dial it in there, and they take care of it and make sure it shows up and everything. And that's a big headlining act. That's arena level stuff. That's like they have a residency in Las Vegas. That's a big show, and that's an artist and an act that is top headlining stuff, and they've gone digital and have been for years. And you look at all these other bands. I look at like John Mayer, who on his latest record, there's some axe effects on that record. There's Fractal. He plays at least one. He said that in the song Wild Blue, there is an axe guitar with a chorus and stuff on there. Now, we don't know exactly which one, but, John, I'm sure, recorded that record at his studio that he owns in Southern California, Jim Henson's place, Jim Henson Studios. That's a music studio now. John owns it. And I'm sure he made the record there, maybe some other places. But, he's putting a modeler on at least one part of that song. Why? Well, I don't know what was happening that day. Maybe the amp was being taken down. Maybe it was broken. Maybe he was just playing around with it, and he thought, this sound would be perfect. Let me try something on Wild Blue. And we don't know, but one thing we do know is he's not looking at that thing going, this doesn't sound anything like my amps, throw it away. And it's really to the point where there's several reasons why the pros have gone digital. So many pros. We heard about the Edge in the Dome, going digital for that. And there's so many. People could put in the comments all the professionals that are using axe effects, Kempers. They're just dozens and dozens and dozens, hundreds and hundreds of acts. And if you go down to Lower Broadway, or you go see live music in your town, you're likely to see a Kemper or an axe on some act. Now, you're going to see a ton of amps, of course. But that's kind of my point is you get to the level where when it's about making money and not like fulfilling your dreams, and I don't say it's put anybody down. I respect all the weekend warrior people and everything like that. But, a lot of people are out there with a love of big amps and a lot of hearing loss. And they're going, I'm just romantic about being a rock star. I just want to be, they're basically playing rock star and wrecking their hearing. And that's fine. There's a time to do that. I don't think it's in your 30s and 40s. I think that's more in your 20s when you're invincible. And I respect the hell out of that. I really do. But what I see is people who want to make money know that load-in makes you easier to work with, and you can travel with less trailer stuff. You can travel a lot lighter and a lot quicker. And digital makes it possible to do these one-off fly dates and make it profitable. Imagine you're a legacy act and you had some hits in the 90s or the early aughts. And now you guys got kids, they're getting older, you've been off the road for a long time, you're making some records. And you're getting these corporate gigs, casino gigs, but you're not trying to line up a 150-day tour. You're not even trying to line up a 90-day tour with 78 shows in it. You might be getting a lot of really good paying offers to let's go do 3 gigs this month. We can fly out. We got 3 that we can put together in this weekend, and let's fly home. And when you do that, it becomes like, okay, we got to fly with guitars. Can we fit our rigs in our suitcases? Like, do we mail it out ahead of time? Because, I can mail out a Kemper Profiler. I can order it from Sweetwater and have it show up at the promoter's door 2 days before and say, bring this. And I can load up my sounds, and there I go. And then as a backup, I can put an HX Stomp in my backpack. And at that point, it's like, okay, now we got UPS delivering your rig, if you can do it. And that's a great way to make money. That's a way to pay the mortgage, and that's a way to actually be a working professional. And then you can come back to Nashville and you can do production, you can do all that stuff. But if you got the opportunity to go on the road this weekend and you're one of those legacy acts and you got to either pay to get a trailer out there or do it, or you got to say no to the gig, you're either saying, yeah, let's go do this thing and we'll each make 10 grand this weekend. We'll take 3 days to make 10 grand. Let's go do that. That's worth it. Or you might say no, because you can't get the amps out there and logistics-wise, it's just not feasible. So this is what I mean when I say the pros. And also the headlining acts, the biggest acts, are more and more going like, unless you're one of the people who's like part of your brand is that, and you have the luxury of being so big that you can just, the money's really not an issue. You're making so much money. It doesn't put a dent in your pocket to pay people to bring the amps and everything. And that's where the edge is at. And if you are the edge, hey, you got a long time tech who's been handling your rig, and he probably knows that thing in and out better than you do. And that's great. And that's so great. But man, it's so funny. Everyone has just gone digital. And it's so obvious to me with what I see, but it's not that obvious to a lot of people I know. And I think that's because I know my last 10 videos have been seen by more 40 and 50-year-olds than 20 and 30-year-olds. So I think that might tell you maybe what's going on. Just my thoughts. All right, let me know what you think in the comment below. I've been HW.